going to read some scripture out of the book of Mark, the 4th chapter. And it's a very, very familiar scripture to most people. And you know, it kind of, in the beginning of this, before these particular verses we're going to read, Jesus, he was out spreading God's word, and he was preaching beside the lake or shore there, and there were so many people that he wound up on a ship so that he could see the multitude and so that he could preach to them, so that everybody would be able to see him and be able to hear him. And you know, I can just imagine at this time when people were talking about Jesus and how everybody just wanted to see him. Everybody just wanted to get close. People who were sick, they wanted to get close enough to him so that they could touch him, so that they could be healed, or so that he could heal them in some way. But the scripture we're going to read comes starting in the 35th verse of Mark chapter 4. It says, "On that day when evening had come, he said to them, 'Let us go across to the other side.' And leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. But he was in the stern asleep on the cushion. And they woke him, and they said to him, 'Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?' And he awoke, and he rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, 'Peace, be still.' And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. He said to them, 'Why are you afraid? Have you still faith?' And they were filled with great fear, and said to one another, 'Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?'" So, you know, like a lot of us this week, I was sitting there and I was scrolling through Facebook, and very rarely do I ever take the time to watch a video on Facebook. I'll see a video and I just scroll on through it. I don't mess with it. But one really caught my attention this week, and I wound up, I shared it. It was about an eagle in a storm. And as I began to read it and watch this video, it talked about how an eagle senses when a storm is coming. And when an eagle senses that a storm is coming, it flies up to the highest point that it can find. So that when the storm begins to come, the eagle spreads his wings and allows the wind from the storm to carry him. And so basically the eagle is just soaring above the storm while everything is raging underneath of him. He is on top of it, using the power of the storm to propel him. So I really thought about that and really thought about this scripture. And you know, the thing with all of us, every single one of us in here, we're going to have storms that come in our life. We're going to have storms that it's just part of life. It's part of being a human. It's part of just being in this world. We're going to have storms that come in and then become a part of us. And it's... Anyway, here we go. The storms of life, it's not about how they affect us, but the thing is, it's about how we react to them. And you know, I thought a lot about this eagle, how, you know, the eagle's not scared of the storm. He relies on the storm to propel him and keep him above it out of the storm. So, you know, number one, Satan, he always attacks us when we least expect it. Always, when we least expect it, when we're not looking for him. And the really cool thing about that, I think this video, was it said that the eagle knows when the storm is coming. Well, you know what? When things are going really good in your life and things are calm and it just seems like life just can't get any better, that's the time that we should be expecting a storm. Because that's the time when Satan is going to attack. That's the time when we're thinking that everything is just perfect. That's when the devil is going to try and attack us. Just like in this scripture, when they got on the boat, everything was perfect. Jesus had just been preaching to a multitude of people. The disciples were there with him. Everything was going great. And Jesus said, "Hey, let's go to the other side." Now, here's something I want you to think about. This boat, they begin to go to the other side. Jesus was tired from a long day. He goes and he lays down and he goes to sleep. The storm begins to rage. It says that the boat was filling up with water. Jesus is still sleeping. The disciples, they begin to get scared. We're going to sink. The wind is going to turn us over. We're going to fill up with water and we're all going to drown. Jesus is still sleeping. You know what? I think we can look at this and we can see a picture of peace. Because Jesus is peace. And it didn't matter what kind of storm was going on. It didn't matter what was going on outside of the boat or in the boat. Jesus was still sleeping. Because Jesus is peace. And Jesus can be the peace in our lives. The disciples, they were going nuts because of this storm. And Jesus, he was just sleeping. You know what? Jesus knew that his Father would take care of him no matter what was going on. Jesus knew that his Father was there with him. That he wasn't there alone. He wasn't going to face this storm alone. It's the same thing with all of us today. We don't have to face any storm alone because Jesus will face the storm with us. Jesus will be right there with us. And Jesus, no matter how bad this storm got on this boat, he stayed asleep. Until his disciples, they just couldn't take it anymore. They were scared to death. They thought they were all going to die. So they ran to him and they said, "Hey, how are you sleeping? We're fixing to die. Do you not even care? Do you not even care that we're all going to perish?" And Jesus simply woke up. And he said, "Peace, be still." Those three words, peace, be still, they calmed the storm. I believe the winds quit, the rain quit, I believe everything just became calm. And all it took was three words from our Heavenly Father. All it took was three words coming from Jesus, who can put in your life today. It took those three words, peace be still, and the wind stopped and the storm, it just went away. And Jesus looked back at him and he said, "Why are you afraid? Do you not have any faith?" You know what, this morning, Satan uses storms to try to rock our faith. Satan uses storms to try to rock your faith and to try to knock you away from your faith. Their faith was rattled in the storm. But Jesus' faith was never rattled at all. Because he knew that his Father was with him and his Father was going to take care of him. You know what, this morning, I know it's hard whenever we face storms in our life and things go on in our life. It's hard for us to stand strong and to know and to be just rely on our faith that everything's going to be okay. But Jesus gives us an example here that we can know that everything's going to be okay because even the storms of life, even the storms in the world, the physical storms or the emotional storms in your life, they listen to his command. When he said, "Peace be still," the storm was over. You know what? You may be having some kind of storm going on in your life this morning, and all it takes is for Jesus to say, "Peace be still," and it'll be over. But the problem comes with what he said to the disciples after he calmed the storm. When he said, "You still don't have any faith." We have to have the faith to believe that Jesus is going to be there with us. You know what? The thing is, Jesus don't always take the storm away. Jesus don't always take the storm away. But what he does is gives us an ability to ride through the storm. So what we should be doing, we should be looking like this eagle was. And we should be ready to ride on the storm. Let the storm propel us in life. Not to look at the storms that we face as a negative thing, but let's look at the storms as something positive. Look at the storms that these things are going to make me stronger. Be prepared to soar high. Overlook the storms. Don't focus on how bad it is. Focus on what can come good out of it.
You know, it's the old thing about being pessimistic versus being optimistic. Is the glass half full or is the glass half empty? You know, many of us, we always look at that glass as being half empty. Many of us in here, if you're just honest this morning, we look at that glass as being half empty. But Jesus says, look at the glass and know that it's not just half full, but it's overflowing with my blessings. Jesus will fill our glass all the way up, so that it's overflowing with His blessings this morning. Just as, you know, a thing that I found that went along with this thing about the eagle, it says, when the storms of life come upon us, and every single one of us will experience them, we can rise above them by setting our minds and our beliefs toward God. The storms do not have to overcome us. We can allow God's power to lift us above them. God enables us to ride the winds of the storm that brings sickness, tragedy, failure, and disappointment in our lives. We can soar above the storm. Remember, it's not the burdens of life that weigh us down. It's how we handle them. And it's so true this morning. It is about how we handle them. And one thing for us to remember is that even though we face storms in life, the storms will pass. They will go away. The storms don't last forever. We may have thunderstorms with chances of tornadoes or whatever, but it don't last forever. It goes away in a few hours. We may have a big snowstorm in the winter that, you know, we got a foot of snow and it seems like it sticks around for 6 months, but really it's only a few days. So the storms, they will go away. But it's up to me and you how we react. It's up to me and you how we choose to see the storms. You know, as Butch mentioned a while ago about the Henry family. And I look at his wife and some of the posts that she's put on Facebook and just how amazingly strong she has been through this. And there's only one way. It's because she's relying on God. She's relying on God to get her through this. She's relying on God to help her to soar above the storm. Just as me and you should be relying on God this morning to help us rise above the storm. And so that we can find something positive out of everything that comes against us in our life. Whatever storm you're facing today, something good can come out of it. Whatever storm that you're having to go through, it can become a positive thing. I know we don't feel like it in the midst of the storm. In the middle of the storm, we don't look and say, well, this is amazing. In the middle of the storm, we get depressed and we get down and we get worried and we get concerned and we look to God and we say, God, why? We look at God and say, why are you not helping me? You know what I love? I love thunderstorms. I like to go outside and just sit and watch them. I love to watch the lightning. I think it's beautiful. And it's one of God's creations. And I just think, man, that's awesome. But then when storms hit my life, I want to run away from them. I want to run as far away as I can. But you know, I've learned, don't mean that I always do it, but I've learned that the best thing we can do when those storms begin to rage in our life is to run as hard as we can right into them. With Jesus by our side. Not by ourselves, but with Jesus by our side. JC, she was with her memo and got some little movies from the dollar store somewhere the other day, and we were watching one. And didn't have any idea that these movies had anything to do with the Bible or anything else, but they started telling the story about David and Goliath. And as I was watching the little cartoon version, and you know, it of course didn't use the exact words as the Bible, but the way that it put things, I thought it was really cool because it said that David was coming to give food to his brothers, which was true. And it says that David came up and he heard all of the soldiers were just bickering and arguing and just ready to give up because of this one soldier they were going to have to face. And David couldn't understand why they were willing to give up over one soldier. And one of the little characters said, well, look at him. And David turned and looked at Goliath. And in the show, David goes, okay. Thought, it's pretty cool. He says, okay, because David said, I'll fight him. And they show all the other soldiers throwing their armor on David. They begin to throw their armor on him, and David being a little guy, and it shows it in the cartoon there that you can't even see David anymore. All you see is a pile of armor. David says, this ain't going to work. So David grabs his little sling, and he gets his stone, and he takes off. And the giant's laughing at him. The giant's just laughing as hard as he can. David just keeps on walking. David walks up to him and he takes his stone and puts it in his sling. And he lets go. And God does the rest. It's the same thing with every storm or every giant that you face in your life. Don't be scared of the storms. Don't be scared of the giants that you face. Rely on God to get you through them. David, all of those others, Saul and all of the other soldiers, the reason that they were scared to death to go and fight Goliath was because they were going to fight Goliath on their own. They were going one-on-one up against this giant that scared them to death. But David, he knew that he wasn't going alone. David knew that he was taking his Heavenly Father with him, and with his Heavenly Father with him, he was not going to lose. If we take our Heavenly Father with us through our storms, we will not perish. If we take our Heavenly Father with us through every storm that we face, we will never perish. Doesn't mean the storms are going to be easy. Doesn't mean it's going to be super quick that we're just going to run right through it. But it means that Jesus is going to be there with us, and no matter how big the waves become, no matter how bad the wind may get or how hard the rain may fall, Jesus is going to be beside us, and He's not going to allow anything to happen to us. I want to talk about faith. Go to the Old Testament, read the story of Job. Job had some faith. Because even after he had lost everything, he lost everything but his wife, and she looked at him and said, why don't you just rebuke God, just give up? He said, no. Nope. Can you imagine losing every single thing that you have? From the biggest of your things to the littlest of your things. And even your own spouse saying, hey, just give up. Quit trying. Still being able to say, nope. God's got this. Job, he stayed true to God, and he stuck with Him. And God blessed him beyond anything imaginable. But you know, when the storms of life hit us like they did Job, so many times we're just willing just to lay down and give up. I'm the first one. Sometimes I look and think, man, is there any way I can run the other way? Can I get away from this storm somehow? But you know what? Jesus, He's right there, and He's saying, hey, just take my hand. Just take my hand and we'll go through the storm. You know, most of you have probably heard the poem, I guess it is, The Footprints in the Sand. And you know, I think a lot of times people overlook a really important part of that. Because it tells us there at the end is the part that most people really catch on to when He says, you know, I only saw one set of footprints. And Jesus says, that's because I was carrying you. That's amazing that Jesus will carry me through the storms of life. But you know what's even cooler is at the beginning there was two sets of footprints because Jesus is walking beside us. So I know that I I never have to be alone because Jesus is walking beside me. I know that I don't have to face anything in life, whether it be something good or something bad. I know that I have Jesus on my side. And so many times we get really messed up as people is that we only look to Jesus whenever something's wrong. I'm telling you that this morning, Jesus, He wants to be a part of your happiness. Jesus wants to be a part of the good things in your life. Jesus wants to celebrate with you in the best times of your life. Here's the thing, and I'll be done in just a couple of minutes. Jesus will be with you for all things. He's willing to go, but it's your choice whether you take it or not. Because so many times we can decide that we're just going to face the storm on our own. And here's what happens. We try to face the storm on our own, and we try to battle through it, and we try to fight through it, and things just continue to get worse, and the storm gets bigger, and the winds get stronger, and the rains, they just become more and more and more until finally we get to the point where we don't know what to do. We just give up because I don't know what to do. And that's when we fall down on our knees and say, okay, God, I can't do this on my own, I need you. Think about how much easier the storm could have been if when we first realized that there was a storm coming, we would have said, hey, Jesus, I need your help. I need you to walk through this with me. I need you to hold my hand. Help me to get through this. You know, isn't it amazing a little kid can get scared? And just grabbing mom or daddy's hand can make all the difference in the world. When we get scared in life or we don't know what to do, all we have to do is reach out and take Jesus' hand. Because Jesus is always there with his hand outstretched for every single one of us in here this morning. You've never done anything that's too bad for Jesus to stretch out his hand to you. You've never been too mean, you've never been too ornery, you've never done anything that Jesus would turn his eyes away from you. Jesus, he has his arms stretched out and he's wanting you to take his hand this morning. And he says that I'll go through the storms with you. And I'll help you to be like the eagle and to soar above the storms. And not have to be there and just be scared to death because we don't know what the outcome's going to be. Here's the thing, with Jesus on our side, and I can get a verse of song. With Jesus on our side, it doesn't matter what storms we face. It doesn't matter how bad they get. It doesn't matter what the outcome of the storm is. Because as long as I have Jesus in my life, I know what the final outcome is. I know that my final outcome is spending all of eternity in heaven with my Savior. So the storms may come, the storms may go, but I'll never face a single one alone because Jesus is in my heart. And I'm going to take him with me everywhere that I go. And I'm going to do my best that when I see the storm begin, that's when I'm going to reach out and take his hand. I'm not going to wait until I'm already about to drown. I'm going to stick out my hand when I see the first raindrop and say, hey, Jesus, let's do this. Let's do it your way. You got me. Instead of for the first 2 days of the storm, trying to walk through it alone. The first 2 days of the storm, trying to swim and get as far as I can on my own. And then looking back and saying, Jesus, where was you? He says, I'm right here. I've got my hand stretched out and I'm waiting. All you got to do is grab a hold. So this morning, maybe you just need to grab a hold of Jesus' hand. For whatever is going on, it don't matter. It don't matter what kind of storm's going on in your life. It don't matter how bad the storm is. It don't matter how long the storm's been brewing or how long you've been fighting it. All that matters this morning is that you reach out your hand and you grab Jesus's and never look back. Or maybe this morning, maybe there was a time that you had to hold Jesus' hand and you just let go. Maybe you just let go. So let me tell you something about that this morning. Even if you just let go, Jesus is still standing there with his arms stretched out. He's just waiting for you to grab it again. He's just waiting for you to grab it again this morning. He wants you. He wants to be a part of your life. Just as the eagle soars above the storm this morning, the only way that me and you can ever soar above the storm is if we follow Jesus through. We have to follow him. We can't look at Jesus and expect him to follow us. We have to follow him this morning. If you will stand this morning, if you've got storms or anything going on in your life, the altar's a great place to lay them down and grab Jesus' hand this